All right, everyone, we're here with War 8 versus SAS. These guys have been doing pretty good during the season, from what I've heard, so it's going to be a pretty tough war. BG1 has Protect, and I'm taking in Void, Mr. Fantastic, and Quake. I am on boss duty, and for once it's not a Mojo boss. It's a Dragonman boss, and I'll be taking it with Void. I have Path 1 in Section 1 and Path 2 in Section 2. I have 3 mini-bosses and that boss fight. So I placed the Mr. Fantastic pre-fight here on Longshot just to kind of help with the power gain early. And I'm going to go ahead and throw on 1 hour boosts just for timing so that I can heal afterwards if I take any damage. Game plan here, I'm going to use a power of start 1. I'm going to try and launch it somewhat early when there's an opening so that I can knock him down to refresh the Petrify from Mr. Fantastic. And then hope and pray that I get an early Petrify from Void. So Longshot's not a Protect champ. There's no worry about triggering Protect here. It's more so just looking out for this unblockable while he's regenning. But as soon as we start getting these debuffs layered on and we start doing damage, then it'll be pretty easy to counter Longshot on this node. I do decide to throw a heavy to refresh the Petrify there. And we did get a Petrify early. I tried to retaliate to hit into his block, and he threw SP1, so I didn't hesitate fast or long enough to avoid that. But we're still moving right along pretty easy. He's at 50%, and we're 1 debuff away from Fear of the Void. So we're doing a great bit of damage to start this fight off. Regen fell off, so now we can block. Still baiting out these SP1s when he's stubborn, hitting into his block to push him back so that we don't get cornered, and just letting the debuffs do their damage over time. I did not put weakness on yet. I will for the boss fight. And down he goes, so easy peasy. Okay, so the next few fights are kind of a yawn fest because all I'm going to be doing is quaking. Here, Gulk on Masochism. What I'm looking to do is to land a parry right before the concussion is going to hit so that the long stun timer sticks if the concussion fails to make it stick. Therefore, I can sit there for that long period of time building up quake charges, earthquake charges. So other than that, you saw there, I kind of mistimed a heavy. I did plan on dodging it, but later on I start re-heavying, which is doable versus heavy. But yeah, like I said, not a difficult fight here. We get to bypass Protect and not even worry about it and do all the damage. Drop my heavy there. Still not a worry. He's not close to a bar of power. And she's overcoming the healing from Masochism. So down he goes. Easy peasy. Next, we're going to counter this strike counter node with Quake again. I'm going to use a team heal to recover both health so that we're doing well with item management. And again, nothing special here. It's just Quake and Shake. Immortal Hulk is really easy to Quake and Shake, and it's really easy to reapply your heavy versus his heavy because it's probably the slowest in the game. And as you can see, we're not building any of those gamma charges, so he's not going to hit the Immortal phase when he's about to die and regain any health and be unblockable. But, I mean, he doesn't touch us the entire fight, so an unblockable Hulk isn't a big deal, especially if you fought a Weapon X while he's unblockable with Quake. So, same Quake, different day. Going pretty smooth here. I haven't dropped the heavy at all, so I'm not triggering the Fury buildup from Strike Counter. Even then, the concussion charges may turn it off. I don't know. I haven't dropped the heavy enough on Strike Counter to find out. And this should be the last Aftershock. And down he goes. So 3 fights down. Okay, moving right along. We're going to go ahead and 6 hour boost here, and these boosts will cover us all the way to the boss. I'm going to take this Doom here on Power Snack Mini with Quake, and I will be Quake and Baking it the entire fight, so avoiding the dexterity buff altogether so that we don't get shocked and he doesn't gain power. So I have the White Magneto pre-fight so that our stun timer lasts a lot longer than it normally would, despite Limber, so that we can just go ahead and lay on the damage and the charges. You'll see here that I don't actually miss a parry. I think there might be 1 blocked hit that wasn't a parry the entire fight. And the block damage is pretty significant versus Doom. So there's not a lot of room for error when it comes to accidentally missing a block and taking a full hit to the face, especially if that magical shock lands on you and he decides to throw the heavy, which he will, and he smacks you across the face. So despite all that, it was a pretty easy Quake fight and it went by really quick. All right, moving right along here. We're gonna go ahead and Quake and Shake the Sentinel on EMP node. This is the shared fight before paths 1 through 3. Nothing special here. This is just a straightforward Quake and Shake fight. I'm sure there are a few other counter options here. It's just easier to Quake. Most of the time when we boss rush, we need at least one Quake on the way there. So since all three of us would be funneled this way, a Quake is eventually going to be the only one to take this. There are probably a few others, anyone that's going to end the fight really quick, so maybe Hyperion, but Sentinel is a protect champ, so you need to have a protect counter if you decide to go with someone who doesn't do passive damage, such as Quake, so as not to trigger protect. But he goes down nice and easy. It's not a hard Quake fight. Moving right along to this Heimdall on Vigor. Again, just a Quake and Shake fight. Nothing tough here. Obviously, don't accidentally push him to SB1 by dropping the heavy constantly or taking hits, because as soon as he uses it, he'll have True Strike and you're going to have to get it off before you can go back to Quake and Shake. So, but nothing hard. I'm pretty sure it was a rank 2, so lower health pool, about 20k less than most champ matchups here. But yeah, just goes really smooth. Right there at the end was the only time we triggered Vigor or allowed it to happen, so that was it. Moving on to this Korg on Buffet. This one can be a little nerve-wracking because if you do drop the heavy, he'll regen, and you can't just suddenly switch to Quake and Bake without the White Magneto pre-fight. So with a straightforward Quake and Shake fight, you just have to be really solid and make sure you don't ever drop that heavy. I did turn Suicides on at this point, just because my next few fights I'm going to want Suicides on, and I just decided I wanted the fights to go by quicker with the boosts. So it's, I think 30%, since it's half Suicides, I didn't go full Suicides. I think it's a 30% boost, so quite significant for these longer Quake fights and bigger health pools when we get to Boss Island. But didn't drop the heavy. Quake went down nice and easy, or Korg went down nice and easy. Hulkbuster, same kind of strategy. We're gonna Quake and Shake and then hope we don't drop the heavy at all. I believe I do. I even actually punch him accidentally. I'm not sure. I don't recall what exactly happened in the moment. I think I was trying to recover or something and tap the right side of the screen instead of the left, and I punched him. There it is. So my dexterity's gone. So now I just decided to switch to Quake and Bake. Again, not hard versus these champions who decide to throw or who only have one hit heavies. It's really easy to just reapply heavy afterwards. So wasn't a big deal. And as you see, he went down nice and easy. Moving on to this King Groot on the Vigorous Assault mini node. Not a hard fight. This is a rank 2 King Groot. So despite him being rank 2, he still has quite a bit of health. But again, not a really hard Quake and Shake fight. Sometimes his Fury does eat up some of the debuffs. Sometimes it doesn't. I've got a lot of practice from taking him on Vivified with Quake in AQ. So his animations can be weird, especially since he has a very long, drawn-out, I think it's medium finisher. And sometimes his attacks just kind of blend into each other because of it. But it just means Quake Shake, Quake Shake, Quake Shake. And you just have to be aware of it, and then you can just reapply the heavy when he does pause from it. But as you can see here, we don't take a single hit. Our damage is from the bleed from Suicides. So, and this Aftershock goes down. So, easy peasy. All right, so moving on to this Hazard Shift mini Terrax. Quake and shaking here with half suicides. Not a very difficult quake and shake fight. What is interesting is his medium dash where he kicks is pretty quick and kind of can get disguised behind his big axe. So if you're doing this quake and shake visually, sometimes you'll see the kick come in late and you aren't actually sure if you dexed it or not, since it's kind of blocked from view. But outside of that, once that rock field is down, it's just a simple quake and shake fight, stun immune. Again here, usually with this node, I'm not really watching the health bar. I'm just counting or watching the hits so that I keep up the quake and shake without missing a beat. But nothing really too difficult here. Most of the time when Quake's on, or when Terrax is on a different mini boss node, we usually take it with cable, but when he's quakeable, he's pretty easy to quake, so. I believe we got one more aftershock. We might not actually make it. Well, no, yeah, it'll be one more aftershock. And down he goes. So, easy mini boss finish. All right, so I was on boss duty. I'm going to take this Dragonman with Void. I've removed the crit masteries from the attack tree. I'm going to throw on this SP3 boost and actually throw Power Start 1 in hopes that I land one of Void's Petrifies. He's also got all 3 of Mr. Fantastic's debuffs on him. 1 or 2 of them don't... The defensive combat one does help, but they're actual active debuffs, so they help Void in the fact that they count towards his list of debuffs and will do degen damage or damage over time. So, but game plan here is to pretty much slow play it until we get one of the Petrifies up from Void, and then from that point on, it should be a little bit easier. We're going to try and bait out heavies when he doesn't have a bar of power, which isn't going to be often until we get Fear the Void up or 2 Petrifies. And you'll see there I was actually lucky and got a Petrify on that SP1 and the knockdown reset Mr. Fantastic debuff. So with his SP1, you want to block it if he's got a power game buff because it'll rip it right off of him. If he's got SP2, you just want him to use it so it converts it to a Fury. So that's how we get rid of the power gain buff when he's stun immune, because Dragonman actually loses it when he gets stunned. But once if we get Void's 2 Petrifies up, power gain is pretty much meaningless. We just have to play it smart and bait out specials and not push him to SP3 just from hitting him. So I do have Resonate on so that the weakness debuff adds to the damage over time. I am going to continue to throw SP1 here. With basic attacks, there's no worry about triggering Protect, especially with the crit masteries removed. The worry really comes in with the specials. And I think out of all the SP1s I throw, I trigger Protect once, which isn't a big deal. It is if you can't really intercept, or if you're not willing to risk like a light intercept or a backdraft intercept, but I'm pretty confident in the flow of battle that an intercept gets worked in. So when I do trigger it here coming up very soon, I pretty much remove it not too long afterwards, and there it is. So he's got this Protect debuff. I'm just going to let the fight kind of flow and feel it out, and right there I felt he was going to come at me and not throw SP1, so I got him. So he got it removed. The debuff, the Ineptitude debuff that we get from blocking his SP1 does heal you through the fight, so there's that benefit if you've got willpower on. So I'm going to finish this fight pretty close to a yellow bar of health. And as you can see, even with the attack tree, with the crit mastery tree removed, I'm going to end this fight pretty close to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So even if it was the old war timer, and down he goes, even if it was the old war timer, it still would have worked out. So Void still remains a pretty good counter to him. BG1 died 1 time to their 1 as well, but we ended up tying this war, which is pretty disappointing because it counts as a loss. So it's our 3rd loss on the season. It knocked us out of top 3 for now, but I think with the point differential, there's a possibility of still getting 2nd place, assuming we finish out with wins and everyone above us loses at least once. So, pretty good war. It took 11 fights. It was a lot. Pretty sad that we tied. But thanks for stopping by. Hope this helped. Hit subscribe and follow me on Twitter for the next one.